Hello and welcome back. And that's right, today I want to talk about something genuinely fascinating. No, this isn't the device that I use to talk to Ziggy, the robot from Quantum Leap. No, this is not a new cutting edge Polly Pocket. And no, it's not the device I use to put on my makeup in the morning. Look at the state of me. No, this is the UniFi AirWire. And this is kind of the answer to MLO. Now, I'm going to put it out there straight away. This is not a review. I have not had this long enough and tested it enough to call this video a review. But I'm so excited about what this means that I really want to talk about it. Now, there is going to be a full, deeper review on this because I am going to put this mofo through its paces to get it to see if it delivers on what UniFi are promising. In short, right now, if you want to add Wi-Fi 7 to your devices, or you buy a device like a phone or a laptop that has Wi-Fi 7 on board, you generally do it for two major advantages. One, you do it because you want access to the 6 GHz frequency, which has got more lovely landscape for your Wi-Fi devices to enjoy at larger data packets of 320 MHz. But on top of that, you also want to take advantage of MLO, multi-link output, and that is something, or multi-link operation, I know. This is a platform that allows you to aggregate multiple connections across 2.4, 5 GHz and 6 GHz. However, and thank you very much to the video that we referenced last month from Ratings over in Canada, in brief, the majority of devices now use multi-link single radio, which in MLO connections is equivalent to load balancing. It's when data is being utilized and passed across multiple connections. You're not really aggregating it, it's a turn-based system across the individually aggregated connections. And what you do need is multi-link multi-radio. And the limitation has always been, in as far as the industry development stake, has been the client devices. You can knock around on eBay and Amazon and grab yourself a USB Wi-Fi 7 dongle for about 30 to 50 nicker. And although some of these support 6 GHz, the majority of them do not. And moreover, do not support that truly aggregated variation of MLO. That is where this puppy comes in. The reason it's the reason it's external is because of heat, because of power draw and sheer capability. UniFi are launching this to allow users who are utilizing an existing Wi-Fi 7 setup to take advantage of true MLO. They never enabled it on the APs. They didn't enable it on the routers, they say, because there was no point. The significant power draw, the significant grabbing of all of those lanes when the client devices weren't adopting it. This $199 device here in the middle of the table is opening the door towards that. How far? We'll find out more in the deeper review. But at the very least, I'm loving the idea of this. Let's talk more about the hardware here. This device, this network adapter connected with USB, and we'll come back round to that in a moment, is a 4 spatial stream dual band network adapter. I know you're thinking dual band, hold your horses there, Trigger. This thing is not knocking around with 2.4. That's for low level devices, IoT. Those are for the birds. This is 5 GHz and 6 GHz at 2x2 each, and with a possible total network connection bandwidth on the 5 GHz of 4.3 gigabit, and on the 6 GHz connection it is 5.8 gigabits per second. So that is knocking on the door of 10 gigabit wireless connectivity. However, remember earlier I mentioned the USB connection there? That USB connection there seemingly makes this appear on the local area network as a 5 gigabit network adapter, not unlike utilizing a wired 5 gig adapter there. So I do think this is going to be topping out at 5 gigabit per second there. Again, we'll learn more during my full detailed review. The other thing you may also notice there is technically 2 USB connections there, because the device has, unsurprisingly, a decent power draw to contend with. Now, it has a total maximum power draw of 18 watts with the single USB connection there. Typically, in normal performance mode, around 15 watts. However, if you want to use the performance mode, and that is when this thing is guns blazing MLO, it's recommended that you use the auxiliary power connection to enter more power going into this device. So whether that is, you're going to use a USB mains adapter, whether it is you're going to use a USB connection. Keep in mind, if you're utilizing the auxiliary, standard USB 2 or low-level USB 3 isn't going to be good enough. You're going to need USB 3.2 Gen 2, I reckon, or if you've got some USB 4 connections going begging, that might be a better way to go. You can obviously use a power bank like you would, because yes, it's portable, I guess, running off USB bus power for the most part, but just keep that in mind. For full utilization of this device's capabilities, you are looking at that auxiliary power input requirement. Now, design-wise, this thing's pretty neat. The top there does open out. There is an element of portability. It weighs in at a little over half a kilogram. This thing is beefy. I haven't had a chance to rip it open inside, and again, we're going to save a lot of this for the main review later on, but I'm assuming there is a serious cooling and heatsink device in here. On top of that, when we had the thermal imaging camera up and running during our provisional testing, this thing went in excess of 50 degrees quite easily. Now, that is not unexpected. Again, as many brands, Ubiquiti included, highlighted, one of the main reasons that client adoption of true MLO network adapters using multi-link, multi-radio has been so slow to be adopted is because of the power draw and the heating dissipation requirements there. This device, as I'm sure you can see from the thermals on screen earlier and now, it was hotter than the laptop that was doing the work next to it. And this is not an underwhelming laptop, I might add, with an RTX inside. So I get it, the power draw, I get the scaling, but just keep in mind, this is not some piffling USB adapter. Another thing I will add when you are connecting this device for setting up for the first time is you do have that little LCD panel there on the front, and that little LCD is going to give you real-time information about the strength of your connection. It is measured in DPI, lower the better, but on top of that you do have control over that antenna piece there when you are effectively directing it literally towards your Wi-Fi 7 APs. Now, if you're not using a Wi-Fi 7 AP that, if you're using one that doesn't have 6 gigahertz, you're not going to have the best time. Yes, you can still aggregate 5, but remember there's only a 5 gigahertz network connection here. This is at its best when in an existing UniFi 6 gigahertz Wi-Fi 7 environment there. And almost certainly when it comes to UniFi and their Wi-Fi 7 APs, once MLO starts coming into the fold, you're going to be using APs that have a decent amount of heat dissipation development inside them, like the XG series there. Of course, that's not going to be universal. We've not done enough extensive testing yet. But again, if you're going to be using this multi-radio version, multi-connection, multi-radio version of MLO, heat dissipation is going to be critical. And while we're on that subject, something we've touched on in other videos, those of you particularly in the UK, but this is something a lot of different regions should look into, just how much of the 6 gigahertz frequency do you have access to? In the UK, we don't really have that much. You can just about have 2 overlapping 320 megahertz connections, but that's really it. In the US, it's a lot broader. The frequencies are more open. But before you start investing in an equipment like this, do keep in mind that you may not even see the full extent of its capabilities. Now, yes, you can go into the settings of UniFi's devices, change your regional location in some cases to open up some of those frequencies. You can also go in and check some of the options for a professional installer, but I don't recommend doing those unless you know what you are doing, and even then they may not have a level of impact or improvement over their network connection in true MLO than you're hoping for. As I say, this is not a review yet. The next video on this will be, but for now, from what I've seen so far, I'm really liking what I'm seeing. It is genuinely plug and play. I connected the device, it searched for a UniFi AP that I set up on the other side of the room, it found it, and it allowed me to adopt it like any other device. I didn't need to put any client software on my PC system. It found the network, not the other way around. It didn't need to broadcast itself. It did the communication, and the UniFi AP setup and the connected UniFi network did the work. Also, unless I'm very much mistaken, this is kind of universally unique to have a real MLO multi-radio setup in Wi-Fi 7 in a USB connected form. They're similar to this, but not in this compact form and not at $199. So I like the design, I like the idea, and I like the deployment of it. But until I put it through its rigors with connected 10G NAS devices and connecting to a better internet connection to really check the extent of MLO benefits to my connected client system beyond that of a standard gigabit connection, or at the very least pushing the boundaries of Wi-Fi 7, for me, hold out for the full review. But in every other regard, I really love the idea of this and I want to see where it goes. Let me know what you guys think. Apart from that, thank you so much for watching. Yes, there's links to buy the product in the description below if you want to help us out on the channel. The link's there. It really does help us out. We get a commission on that. But as I say, this ain't a review, so, dealer's choice. But thank you so much for watching and I'll see you next time.